Hey everyone, it's Reverend Dr. Katie. My lighting did something very funny. Okay, right as I turned on the camera. So hey everyone, so Vlogmas, hello again, day 2. I was reflecting today on the Magi, and so I want to talk about the Magi a little bit later in the Christmas story, but really good to reflect on while we're thinking about Advent. So again, Advent is this time of preparation before Christmas, the 4 weeks before Christmas, while we're preparing our hearts for the birth of Jesus, for the birth of love into the world. And I just love this time of year, this kind of preparatory time, and it's really essential. Sometimes we race through December and we arrive on Christmas Day, and we're kind of not ready. We're not ready for the enormity of what it means that God becomes human, and that we recognize this time of year where God does become human through the birth of Jesus. So whatever you can do to prepare yourself, I encourage you to. In the previous video, we talked about lighting candles and setting intentions as a really powerful ritual, private ritual for you to begin this journey. So if you haven't watched that, you might watch that as soon as you finish this particular video. So as I was thinking about the Magi today, and actually I was doing this in preparation for podcast, Magical Mystical Journeys podcast. So you'll hear a little bit more about that when we air that Christmas episode as well. But I was reflecting how when the Magi come to Jesus, they are from another country and they are from another religion. Magi are most likely Zoroastrian astrologers. So we get all of this juicy stuff bound up in the Christmas story. It's kind of amazing. From the beginning, when Jesus is just an infant, we see that the Jesus movement symbolized in this story, the Jesus movement is international. It is interfaith, actually, and kind of has all this energy in it. And we see this kind of obvious metaphysical thing happening where the Magi are themselves astrologers. They follow a star to get to the Christ child. Now, none of this isn't supposed to be, I think, be literal understandings for us, but we're invited into the story, into the characters of these Magi. And they, of course, bring these gifts to the infant Jesus. And these gifts are wildly impractical for an infant: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Like, what new parents need that? But they're really symbolic of who Jesus is to grow up to be, of his kind of soul contract that he's made with the world, to become a king, to have these precious ointments. Frankincense is something I use almost every day. I love it around my house, really high vibration oil. But also myrrh is the oil that was used to anoint the dead. And so we see that Jesus kind of has this path laid out a little bit through the gifts of the Magi. So what are some of the other gifts, and I'm using kind of big G here, that we might be invited to think about in our own lives? So again, the Magi are astrologers. So I love to explore astrology as one way to get to know ourselves, not as something that boxes us in, but as something that frees us to be exactly who we are. And the presence of the Magi in the Christmas story, I think, is maybe preparatory for us. So if that's something you've been thinking about, then you might want to consider how could additional modalities like astrology, doesn't have to be astrology, but like astrology, how could those be impactful in your life? I think the other thing is that it's no secret that a lot of Christians are really not good at welcoming other faiths and at recognizing and honoring and respecting the gifts of other faiths. In this birth story, we see that Joseph and Mary, Jews, welcome the Magi in the Gospel of Matthew into the birth story, into a very sacred moment in their lives. And so we have this interfaith kind of like dialogue happening, this interfaith mutual respect of one another's gifts, of one another's traditions happening early on. So one of the sort of barriers that many metaphysical Christians face is thinking about when we borrow like loan words from other faith traditions or other religious traditions. But I think that's actually embedded in this Christmas story. At the very, very beginning, we see that Mary and Joseph are welcoming an interfaith contingency into their home to visit the Christ child, and presumably the gifts, their respective religion, their respective culture that they bring in together. So I invite everyone to begin to kind of open your heart that this may be a direction for you. It might be a gift that's being brought to you to this Christmas season. And you can do that while still remaining very firmly in your own Christian tradition. So what are the metaphysical spiritual gifts that may be beginning to be opened up in your life. The Magi give the Christ child these gifts. They're not used on day one. They are honored, respected, and cultivated, over the course of Jesus' life. And the same can be true for you, but it can also happen kind of quickly. And so this is just a little small reflection on the Magi, getting ready for Christmas. We'll be having more coming later. Still recovering from COVID, so I'm going to do the best I can to keep up with these. So I invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, so you don't miss anything. Write a comment below. Let me know what it is that you're thinking, what questions you have, if any of this resonated with you at any level. So I would love to know that, so I can interact with all of you. All right, talk to you soon.